Hôm nay chúng ta học tiếp kinh Pháp Cú tới câu 39, phẩm tâm. Người tâm đã thanh tịnh, không còn các điều hoặc loạn, vượt trên những nghiệp thiện ác thông thường, là người giác ngộ, chẳng sợ hãi. Người tâm đã thanh tịnh, không còn các điều hoặc loạn. Tâm thanh tịnh đây là cái tâm không có sanh, không có diệt, không có còn phiền não, không còn các điều hoặc loạn. Hoặc đây là những cái phiền não, từ phiền não thô cho đến phiền não vi tế, nó không còn làm cho tâm mình nó xáo trộn, bất an. Vượt trên những nghiệp thiện ác thông thường. Những nghiệp thiện ác thông thường ở thế gian vui, nghiệp thiện làm việc này việc kia, giúp người này giúp người nọ. Như việc ác là những cái điều từ cái ý nghĩ, cái lời nói và cái hành động của mình gây tổn hại cho bản thân, gây tổn hại cho người. Mà mình vượt trên những cái nghiệp thiện, nghiệp ác. Nghiệp thiện, nghiệp ác đây là nói cái ý niệm lành hay là cái ý niệm dữ, điều chúng ta vượt trên đó nó hết. Nghĩa là không còn nghĩ thiện, không còn nghĩ ác nữa, vượt trên những cái ý niệm thông thường đó. Đó là người giác ngộ, chẳng còn sợ hãi nữa. Những người mà vừa tâm thanh tịnh rồi vượt trên những cái ý niệm thiện ác thì cái người đó là người giác ngộ. Người giác ngộ là trong đi đứng nằm ngồi đều không có lo lắng sợ hãi. Đó là người giác ngộ.
Yeah. Continue with verse 39 of Dhammapada. He whose mind is not soaked by lust, he who is not affected by hatred, he who has transcended both good and evil, for such vigilant one there is no fear. So we're still talking about the mind. Here the word is talking about things that will obstruct your path to liberate your mind. That's lust and hatred. So what is lust? Lust here, we're not talking about just sexual lust or anything like that. Lust here is basically another word for greed, right? You think about the word lust. What does that brings to mind in terms of your mind and your emotion? Desire, but and
like you want to grab something and possess it.
Yeah, you want to possess, right? There's this possessiveness, right? There's this energy, clinging, grasping, right? When you're lustful, how does it feel?
Craving.
Yeah, craving. But how does it feel?
It burns.
The actual feeling, sensations in your body. How does it feel?
Yeah. Tension, tightness, heat.
Right.
I think powerful.
Powerful in what way?
Control.
You're controlled by the object of lust. Right. It's hard. It grips you, right? It won't let you go, and you feel like you must satisfy yourself somehow, right? To overcome that grip of lust. Right? When the mind is gripped by lust, it's very hard to find peace and be stable in the mind and have clarity, right? Because you're being controlled by the object of lust, right? So when you think about that, and a lot of people think lust is something that's great, the opposite, right? The normal psychology is, oh, lust. Lust is good because, that means desire. If I can achieve my desire, then I'm satisfied, right? But then, but the word lust itself, it has a meaning of, it never ends, right? It's only momentary satisfaction. Then it comes back again, and it comes back even stronger and stronger and stronger. So so it grips you, right? In both your mind and your body, right? And then the other one is who is not affected by hatred. What about hatred? What does that brings you to mind in terms of your mind and your body?
Revenge.
Revenge. Yes.
I think hatred damages the one who hates.
Well, yeah, it does. It does that. But let's be practical here of how it affects you on a mental, emotional, and physical realm. How does it? Yes.
Well, I felt hatred before. It just confuses me. I can't think clearly.
Right, confusion, no clarity, right? And what else?
Isolation.
Isolation, yes.
You feel tightness in your body.
Tightness in your body. You think you can sit peacefully
No.
with all that? And hatred is kind of like lust in a way that you've heard about, revenge from father to son to generation to generation, right? It's continuous. It can be continuous. Like, it's very powerful. So those are the reasons why we must overcome lust and hatred. It's the two, yes.
So it
reasons.
must be like a manipulation of oneself.
Yeah.
At this point.
Right. And oftentimes, when you take revenge, do you feel better?
Depends on the person.
Depends, right?
Actually, you can.
You can feel you feel satisfaction, right? But there's always regrets. There's always regrets.
So it's kind of habit forming, right? You form habits for craving or attaching or greed and then disliking and angry and hatred. So it increases, right? The more we do that.
So what hatred also does is what it creates stress, deep stress. Right? Usually, you dislike someone and you forget, and time goes by. But hatred is really hard to get. I mean, once you have that sense of hatred, it eats at you, don't it? Does it eat at you? If you can't do anything about it, it's always there. You have to it eats at you. It just little by little until you're liberated from the hatred. But and it's not just mental thinking, okay, I need to get rid of that person. Even after you get rid of that person, the physical effect of that is still there. When you think about that person, even though they may be gone, when you think about it, what it reminds you of what that person did to you, and that you're not liberated. You're still stuck with that issue that started it all, that created the hatred. So even though that person's gone, you're never satisfied because you still have that physical and emotional attachment to the hatred that continues on, and it defiles the mind. Okay. So here is he who transcends both good and evil. For such a vigilant one, there's no fear. Right? Can you see how lust and hatred can bring fear? How? How does fear come into play?
Because you're afraid of losing stuff, and if you have hatred, you're fear of either retaliation.
Right. There's fear of retaliation. There's fear of not be able to get revenge. And what does that bring? That brings more stress. That and what does that do? That feeds the hatred. So it continues, it gets worse and worse. What about lust? Very similar, right? When you lust for something, if you're not getting it, not getting enough of it, right? So there's no fear, but the fear you don't. It's very hard to identify the fear because you're so involved in the emotion and the physical aspect of those of lust and hatred. It's only when the mind is open and aware of those emotion and physical sensation that you can identify, oh, okay, wait a minute, this tightness, what is it? Right? This, this heavy feeling, what is it? And then from there, with a clear mind, as you meditate, you observe all those sensations without any attachment. Because if you attach to any of those motions, then you get drawn into it. Then you become it. You feed it. But if you can stay focused on your breath or something, the point of focus, anchor your mind, and allow. Oftentimes, another thing is that oftentimes when you have that heavy lust or hatred feeling in yourself, oftentimes you fight, you resist it as well. You don't like it because it's not a good feeling. So you're not confronting it, right? So there's no opportunity for transformation at all.
Or you suppress or avoid.
Avoid, suppress, or you act upon it to get rid of it, right? And mostly the action is a bad action, it's not a good action for you or others, right?
It's kind of reaction, I guess.
It's the reaction, yes.
I want something and I
Right.
don't know, didn't
Right.
need it, but
Yeah.
just wanted like,
Mhm.
it was hard to get rid of whatever I thought. So
Mhm.
finally said, oh my God,
Right.
it was so fast and
Yeah.
reacted so fast. And
Right. There's a reaction rather than action. The action only comes when you have clarity. You're able to see that lust in its many forms, in the form of bodily sensation, emotion, and thoughts. Only when you have clarity, and only when you have focus and concentration that you're able to see that. Then, if you're mindful and if you have good practice, then you can have action with it. And here, action is a positive aspect. Okay, how do you let go? You learn how to let go of it, release it, know it's coming back, and you start to see the Dhamma in it. How do you see the Dhamma, the teaching? What is one of the Dhamma teaching? Impermanent, right? When it comes, it may last for a little bit, but then it'll go away. It doesn't persist continuously 24 hours a day, 365 a day. No, it comes and goes, it comes and goes. So when you have clarity and focus, you look at that, you just observe it, and don't get attached to it, and then you witness impermanence. Okay, it's coming, it's there. This emotion or this anger or this tightness, and then you continue to watch it, and you see it's passing away, and all of a sudden it's gone. Wait a minute, it's gone. Okay, and it may come back into that, right? And now by seeing that and not being involved in it, right, you detach in a way. It loses its grip, right? You begin to liberate from its grip. Does that make sense? And you continue to practice that whenever it comes up, confront it. Don't resist. Don't try to push it away. Don't run away from it. That's the action of that's a noble action there.
Indulge the person.
All that. So that leads to our discussion about your meditation also. Is very same way. Right? Are you clear about what's going on with your meditation?
Yes. Aversion to negative emotions, craving for peace. The more I crave peace, the more frustrated I am for not having it. And it's all delusion, it's all craving and aversion.
Right.
And I'm attached to all of it.
Right. So what you are confronting with is really craving. What is that craving? Craving for sensual desire. That's the craving. Like not wanting the state that you're in, wanting a better state, because it feels good, right? So feeling good is a sensual desire, and you're craving it. Right? Now, how do you deal with that?
It's difficult, but now I just try to observe it.
Right. Observe it, identify all aspects of that craving. How does it make you feel? Physically. Is it tightness here? Is it tightness there? You know, my heart beating low? Am I heat? You know, does it get hot? Whatever it is, right? And then emotionally, what emotion are coming up? Observe that. Observe it until it goes away. That means observe the impermanence of it. If it come up in different aspects in the mind, observe that thought. Not follow the thought, observe the thought. Right? Yes.
Right, but there's nothing wrong with wanting to feel better, right?
No. Only when it creates you suffering, then yes, there is.
Right.
Right. We're practicing not to be a rock, or to say that, oh, we shouldn't be enjoying ourselves. In fact, it's just the opposite. The Buddha didn't teach suffering. He teach about what suffering is. He identified the suffering for you, so you can identify it, so you can liberate from it, so you can feel good.
Right.
Right? But this feeling good is a natural feeling, peaceful, contentment, not a desire of feeling good. Does that make sense? Right? When feeling good becomes a desire, becomes a craving, then you're back to suffering again.
Well,
So ask yourself, what are you practicing? It's very important to ask that question. Ask yourself, what are you practicing? If you're practicing to feel good, I tell you, you can suffer the rest of your life. You never see the light. You're just replacing a different sensual desire. Like you're just replacing what's out there that can make people feel good, and you come here and you're replacing it with supposedly peaceful through meditation. It's still an object of desire. It still brings you the same suffering as if you were craving donuts or sweets or whatever, money, fame. Right? Because those things feel good.
not to me. Sweets.
Something. I know you have some, at least one vice.
I would eat sweets that people paid me to.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So you escape that
I
desire.
escaped that one little thing.
Yes.
So, why did the Buddha, and why did Prince Siddhartha meditate, if not to find happiness?
To find liberation from suffering. He meditated for that.
had no craving for it? He had
No.
no craving to be liberated from something?
No, there's no. If he had craving, then he would teach you how to practice craving to be enlightened. It is that he released all his want, his desire, his craving, that brought him to liberation. Okay. So don't misunderstand what you read. Be very careful, or else you're going to go on the wrong path. Yeah. His intention is to find. He saw suffering, all kind of suffering. So what was his question? Why do people suffer? Where does it suffer coming from? The Four Noble Truths, right? What is the path to overcome that suffering? And what are the technique or the practice that brings you that liberation from suffering? That was his intention when he left his castle, to find that. So he went through all these teachers, went meditative teacher at that time, the greatest, and he surpassed every one of them. He became their teacher. But he still, he went into these deep, fourth jhana, fifth jhana, sixth jhana, where he's completely free, and it feels great. It's like you're in heaven. He could have stopped there. But then he still there's still craving there that brings suffering, being in that state. So instead of, he let go of the desire for feeling good, the craving, and he continued to meditate. And then through that, he liberated himself, and he saw what the answer were to overcome suffering. And that's what he teaches. He doesn't teach suffering. He teaches you how to see suffering, see a way out of suffering, practice that so that you don't suffer. When you don't suffer, what happens to you? There's contentment, right? It's just this innate happiness, the original happiness that you have. It's not a happiness that is fleeting, right? So sometimes you think, sometimes when we sit and meditate, oftentimes distraction, all pain, and all that stuff becomes a hindrance to your practice, right? But the worst hindrance in your practice will be when you get to the state where it feels good, where there's bliss. Because it's very hard to identify when you fall into that state. Eventually, it will bring anger, aversion, and it will affect you physically. I'm not going to tell you how it's going to affect you, but if you meditate and you find yourself getting angry with other people more and more, if there's anger in your life more and more, there's more and more dissatisfaction, every time you sit down, go find a teacher. Don't continue, okay? Because that's the point where you need help. If you don't stop there, it gets worse. It gets worse quick. So in this world, there's here it says, when you overcome good and bad, right? Yeah. He who has transcended both good and evil, there's no fear. Good and evil. It means both don't crave for things that feels good either. It's wonderful. Right? Don't get attached to anything. Right? Let go, let go, let go. You see the Buddha, kill the Buddha. Someone has a question.
Yeah.
Yes.
Could you maybe say a little more? You said that sometimes you get to a stage in your progression or your meditation where you feel angry at others because you're meditating or something like that?
Oh yeah, okay.
Could you
So,
explain a little more?
yeah. So, often people think that, oh, we're here to sit and meditate and come to tranquility, peacefulness, and no thoughts and all that stuff, a wonderful state, right? And that's the purpose, right? You will get, if you practice diligently and correctly, you will get into a state. You will get into a state where it will provide you those feelings, those sensations. And they feel really good. Right? What's the next thing? The habit comes back. What is that habit that we have? The one of the three poisons? Craving.
Craving, attachment.
Wanting, attachment.
Want it
Yeah.
again.
Right? So you want it. So next time you sit and, okay,
And you don't get it.
that's what you're gonna, in your subconscious, I'm gonna go there again. So you sit there with a purpose now. Right? You sit there with the mind tainted already. You want to achieve something. You sit there, and at first you get close. Maybe that day you get it again. But then you crave it even more. The more craving you have, eventually you're not going to get it. It will happen. So you continue to crave, and you continue to put so much energy in getting there that you never get there. You don't, and not getting there causes all this difficult sensation, difficult state in your mind. And then you get angry, and then you start to doubt, and you start to judge yourself.
And you start to hate it.
They start to bite you. And then what happens is that state, it carries you out to your activities, to how you respond to people, how you relate to people. Because the anger is there, you didn't recognize it, right? When you get angry with people, you don't recognize that either. You're quicker to get angry. And soon enough, you're dissatisfied with mundane things. So you find yourself meditating, and then if you hit that blissful thing, and then afterward, and you find yourself being angry more and more in your life, that's time to check in.
Oh, I was just going to say, I was reading about Beginner's Mind.
Yes, a good book.
Well, it was just a kind of a random reading, but where it's like almost having like that childlike curiosity and wonder,
Right.
instead of something else.
Right.
I do that, and it just seems very fascinating.
Yeah. What?
All of it.
Yeah. So what is the beginner mind, a child mind? That's the Zen saying, is like meditate like a child. Have a child mind. What does that really mean to you? What is a child mind?
They move from one activity to another one, things like that.
No. How does he look at the world? He or she look at the world, experience the world.
Absorbing.
Yeah. Right? He sees the ball, he sees the ball. He sees this, they're like open eyed, right? Everything new is just wonderful to them, right? There's no attachment to that. So, meditate like a child. Meditate like you're on Mars and have never seen anything. Everything's new to you.
I was glad you mentioned the feet and legs falling asleep, because both my feet fell asleep during the meditation, and I didn't try to fix it or anything, and it was a very fascinating sensation. It became very kind of like a curiosity, and yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of fun.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Is there any harm in enjoying a good meditation?
No. Yeah. enjoying, right? You should be enjoying everything you do. Enjoy, have contentment. Don't seek for happiness, but have contentment. Contentment lasts a lot longer than happiness. Because happiness is very conditional, right? Contentment is you come to a state where, okay, everything's fine. I'm okay with this, right? I'm not pulled or pushed in any way. Right? Happiness, okay, you must have this before I can be happy. There's conditionality. And the problem is you don't control those conditions. It's out of your control. So happiness, when it comes, it still follows the law of impermanence. It comes and it goes. When it goes and you crave for it, that's when you suffer. But contentment, you don't suffer. Why? Because your contentment is, okay, I'm here. If it changes, well, I'm still content. Right? Contentment it flows with impermanence. The mind is okay with that flow. There's no condition.
So we should be content with being content.
Right. And when you're not content, not being content.
Yeah, that was a question.
But if you're content, there's no differentiation. It's when there's happiness, there's difference.
Nguyện đem công đức này hướng về không tất cả đệ tử và chúng sanh đều trọn thành Phật đạo.
Sayonara.